Hello, everyone. Frank and Darren back again, Slaughterland Movie Podcast, with things you didn't know about the Halloween franchise. And this time, we are doing Halloween 2, the night Michael came home, or he came home, one of those subplots. We'll go through it because there's many things about this movie.
The nightmare continues, isn't it, or something like that?
Whatever.
There was a few.
there was a lot of things wrong with the start of this movie, including people getting sued.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that people on the production, Carpenter, Rick Rosenthal, Dean Cundy, Erwin Yablans, Jamie Lee Curtis, all have such a low opinion of this film. And
of each other.
Yeah. I actually quite like it. I think it's my favorite sequel. I think it's a lot of people's favorite sequels. When we did the episode before about Halloween 2, we had people chiming in saying they actually prefer it to Halloween, the original Halloween.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they were making this film, they hated the script. I think the production was pretty fraught because they were going in a few different directions, and people had different ideas of how it should go. Rick Rosenthal wasn't really pulling it together very well, and he got kind of removed, and Carpenter came in to sort it all out. And yeah, it was a messy old process. But at the end of it, I think we have quite a decent Halloween movie.
I'll say. I like one. Yeah. I like one scene in particular.
Oh, we all know what that is.
Yeah. If you've been on this channel long enough. Yeah, but the start of this this production was kind of a daunting task. I mean, Yablans was suing Carpenter, and Dean Cundy had the option of working with Spielberg, and I'm going to say Spielberg on Poltergeist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He'd signed up. He got the offer to work on Poltergeist, went to his agent, said, I want to do this. And he said, well, you can't. You're already signed up for Halloween 2.
I got to do another piece of shit.
Yeah, but the upside to that is he did get to do Jurassic Park years later. So, which was, I know Poltergeist isn't directed by Spielberg technically. But he did get to work with him eventually. But the whole Carpenter thing was he got sued by Erwin Yablans before production even began.
A friend.
Yeah, exactly. The guy who gave him this big break. Yablans sort of secured a verbal agreement to make The Fog and Halloween 2 with Carpenter. And then he was on a flight coming back from the Cannes Film Festival, was Yablans. And on the flight was Bob Ramey, I think his name is, who's the head of AVCO Embassy. And he let slip to him that, John's going to do these 2 movies with me. He's verbally agreed to them. And Bob Ramey, obviously when he landed, he thought, well, hang on a minute, he hasn't actually signed him up yet. So he went and signed Carpenter up to make The Fog and Escape from New York. So Carpenter just wasn't available. So he sued the 2 of them. And the upshot of it was that Carpenter could make The Fog and then had to immediately start on the script for Halloween 2 straight afterwards. And everything kind of harmoniously-ish worked out. But yeah, Carpenter really didn't want to get involved in this film whatsoever. The only reason he got involved with it was because he was owed money from the first movie. And in order to secure that, he had to make or be involved with Halloween 2.
It's you mean to tell me that Hollywood has a lot of backroom dealing?
It's a messy old process, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know where that money went. If they didn't pay Carpenter properly, where the hell did that, what was it, $70 million in 1978 go?
Man. I wonder where did it go with John? If I see him at a convention, I got to ask him, what'd you do with the $70 million? Like, I don't remember what happened yesterday. Pay me with your signature for the
Mustafa.
Signature. Get the fuck out.
Yeah. He got his hands on it.
But, Rick did a good job, I think, directing what he did with this movie. But could you imagine this movie being directed with David Lynch's visual aspect of movie making?
Yeah, that's now this was reported by the LA Times that David Lynch, fresh off the back of Eraserhead and Elephant Man, that would have been like, I think Elephant Man was 1980, wasn't it?
Eraserhead's fucked up.
Yeah, I like the Elephant Man. I think it's fantastic. And Eraserhead is just kind of mental, isn't it?
I love, it's a shame, and ladies and gentlemen, just excuse us for a moment here while we talk about Elephant Man. Do you know that lost for special effects to Raging Bull?
Wow, that is for makeup.
Travesty.
You mean it'd be for makeup, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That's
a travesty.
It is, isn't it? Because and both films were filmed in black and white because the makeup was so heavy that it came across better that way. But yeah, that is. I mean, Elephant Man's such a amazing drama, amazing film, and pretty kind of linear for David Lynch. Do you know what I mean? It's not too wacky like a lot of his stuff is. Eraserhead's just nuts. Nuts. That mad noise all the time, that kind of industrial in the background all the time. It's just insane. But I couldn't imagine him directing a Halloween film at all. I mean, he's only going to do it for the money, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing creative there that he can sink his teeth into.
No.
And nobody really knows how far into the kind of process of actually, getting the gig he was. It was just reported by the LA Times at one stage that he was an early contender for Halloween 2. But part of me wants to see that, a kind of sick part of me. I wonder what he would have done with your hot tub scene.
Put eyeballs in it.
Symbolism. Yeah, put eyeballs in it. Have someone with a long, tall head walk in from the background.
We need a giraffe butler. Just flopping his head around.
Everyone's made out of jelly.
Yeah. Michael slithers in. We can go on and on, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but yeah, that was what was being put around at the time, and it's kind of, I guess, good that he didn't direct it. I think. Yeah,
and we know that the opening to this movie is iconic. The credits, at least, and then your favorite part is always when we are introduced to, Sam Loomis again, Dr. Loomis, changing coats mid stairs down to the lawn. And
are you going to make me talk about lapels now?
Well, no, I'm actually going to get to the opening.
Okay,
that was supposed to be changed. Laurie was actually supposed to be dead.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a few different ideas at script stage, which were kind of odd. Laurie was initially going to be dead at the start of Halloween 2, and new characters would be introduced. Because they felt that Jamie Lee Curtis had sort of matured too much over the 3 years, and the audience would have kind of would have trouble believing that she was a high school student. However, she became a kind of scream queen in between, the original Halloween and Halloween 2. So she had the likes of Prom Night, The Fog, Terror Train, Road Games. And they realized that, she's actually an asset for us to have in this film. So they kind of did away with the idea.
There, when she didn't have as much dialogue in this movie as she did in Resurrection.
Yeah, she barely speaks in it, doesn't she?
She says Coke.
Yeah. Coke. She doesn't ask where Tommy, Lindsay, what happened. I know she knows that her 3 friends are dead. But she doesn't question Tommy or Lindsay. What did they get away safely? You'd think that would be going around in her head. Yeah, other than, can I get a Coke?
Please don't let me put him to sleep. Please don't let me. Whoa, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy.
With a drunk doctor jacking you up.
Yeah. Remember the TV cut where he's sitting there, or the lead scene, he's sitting there worried if he gave her too much fucking sedative. Yeah, I think I gave her enough. Oh, my head hurts. Nurse, Bloody Mary, please. Oh, damn it.
Initially, at the script stage as well, the opening sequence was going to have two kids entering the Doyle house whilst hearing a scuffle upstairs. So basically, the kids were trick-or-treating. The door was open. They walk into the door, look up the stairs, and they see Loomis shooting Michael, and then he drops to the floor behind them, which I kind of like that idea. I think that would have been quite creepy, seeing it from a different angle. And then, of course, having Loomis run out with the wrong jacket on, as I point out quite a lot.
Pushing the kids out of the way. Ooh, you got pains in the asses.
Get out of here.
Shoot them. Go, get out. You too. Just shooting up the house.
Shooting the kids. Get out.
You never see him reload.
No.
It's like the infinity bullet for the N64's GoldenEye. Never reload feature.
Yeah. I guess they would have realized that had that have happened, the kids would have seen Michael get away. Mm-hmm. So that idea was kind of scrapped. But I thought it was never shot. It was always a kind of early script that happened. But interesting. I'd like to have seen that kind of different angle to things. It's sort of Back to the Future 2-ish, isn't it?
Yeah. How would you feel though if this movie was set with Laurie at college? Because it was almost.
Yeah, I think that was one of the early ideas as well, is that they were going to have her in college and have the shape stalk her through all the dorm rooms and everything.
Now, Dan, really quick, we all know when it goes into college, into dorm rooms, the opening into any 80s slasher is always, women sudsing themselves up in the beginning in these washrooms after volleyball practice.
Yeah.
Was this going to be like the same thing, like that type of college setting?
I have no idea if this was kind of sort of veering into Porky's territory or something like that.
Beginning to Blowout?
Yeah, or Police Academy even, I don't know. I think they felt it was too close to a lot of the other slashers that were coming out around that time, and so they then looked at a different idea, which I think most people know about, which was the Michael stalking Laurie, and this would be set a few years later, and Michael stalking Laurie in an apartment block where she's living, where she's moved away from Haddonfield. And then that idea was canned because Carpenter felt that it was too similar to Someone's Watching Me, which was his kind of TV movie from the late 70s, which has a lot of kind of Halloween vibes within it. So yeah, they did away with that as well. So I kind of went through all sorts of development processes that I think he only really sorted out when he opened a 6-pack and started writing at 2:00 in the morning.
There's a lot of deleted things in here. Like the idea of Laurie going to college was basically they toyed with the notion. But there was a deleted scene that we were talking about privately that was partially filmed. And that was with Dana Carvey, as we later know, of Wayne's World fame, is in this movie, and also the I forgot the actor who plays the reporter, but she was also going to meet her demise for being nosy.
Yeah, so the character is the girl, the producer girl, who's outside the Doyle house in the street talking to Dana Carvey. The action then flips to, I think, Laurie coming out of the house. Oh, Annie coming out of the house. Brackett realizing that his daughter's dead. And then you get a sequence where Hunt and Loomis are chatting together. And if you notice, she's kind of listening in the background about where they've taken her and what's going on and all this kind of stuff. And she tells Dana Carvey to meet her at the hospital to try and get a statement from Laurie. She doesn't go in the TV production wagon. She goes in her own car. Michael, before she gets in the car, lets the tires down, or one of the tires down on the car, and gets into the trunk. She then goes down the road, realizes that she's got a flat tire, pulls over, gets out, and a truck driver comes by to offer some help, who's played by Rick Rosenthal. He's kind of dressed up, in a redneck way and all that sort of stuff. Offers her some help. She kind of gets creeped out by this, gets back into the car so that Michael can't get out of the car at that stage because he doesn't want to be confronted by two people, I guess. Carries on down the road, stops again, and as she goes round to the trunk, Michael gets out and slits her throat. He then drives all the way to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital and leaves the car in the car park. When Dana Carvey and his mob get to the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, they see the car, realize that she must be inside the hospital, go into the hospital and start hassling Laurie. Mrs. Alves turns up, kicks the crew out onto the street. Laurie's then really freaked out because she started to come round from the sedation now, realizing that Michael is still alive because obviously he disappeared from the window, and she has an absolute freak out moment. The doctor then sedates her once again, and that's why you have that scene later on where Laurie is lying on the bed and Jimmy comes in and he can't wake her up. She's like in a trance. She's sedated. And so because they removed that whole kind of subplot, it leaves a gaping plot hole in the film as to what's wrong with Laurie when she's lying on the bed. And according to Rick Rosenthal, that sequence was partially filmed. Now I don't know how much of it was filmed,
or if it still exists.
Yeah, or if it still exists somewhere. But there's another murder there that's included, and the whole subplot of Michael getting from Haddonfield to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. So what Carpenter had to do was he had to go in and fix the film and shoot this scene where Michael bumps into the guy with a boombox and hears on the radio that she's at Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, and that's when he walks across town and goes there. But an interesting chunk of the movie that was kind of removed, and something I'd like to see at some stage if it does still exist, or whatever's left, whatever was shot of it.
Did Michael fix the tire?
That's a good question. That's another plot hole that maybe happened. Jacking the car up and
or if he's in the trunk and she just didn't open it, and you hear him go, this didn't work out as much as I planned. I can't breathe. Can you let me out? I promise I won't stab you. I'll even help you change the tire. I don't know what's going on. It's too dark. Is there anyone there?
I wonder
if have the emergency pull cord. If you get stuck in the back, you pull the cord, and the trunk opens up. Yeah, I don't think they had that in the late 70s, early 80s.
I didn't know they had that now. And I also wonder whether the Rick Rosenthal character was like Large Marge.
Or if he pulled up on her, came out, and he was pulling up his pants and buckling. She would accept, maybe, I would think, a little bit of a hand, no pun intended, help out. But I guess she was freaked out with all the story of Michael still being on the loose. She doesn't know who Michael looks like, and that whole mask thing never came out. Is he just nobody knew what he looked like. Apparently they didn't know what he looked like in Kills fucking either, even though he was on the him and Tivoli were on the fucking TV. We don't know what he looks like, Laurie. That's a plot hole right there. But we do know that in some of the cuts that the power does go out. We know that probably Michael probably did it.
Yeah. Well, that was also included as well. So there was the other plot hole that was that kind of appears from them removing this sequence of Laurie being sedated again, is that when she's sedated, Michael kills the power, and so that explains why the whole hospital is so dimly lit throughout the movie. Because Mr. Garrett just goes to check on the phones, doesn't he? He doesn't go to check on the power.
And the cat.
With the cat, he goes to check on the cat, doesn't he? But the But there's still a bunch of plot holes in this movie anyway, but things I can sort of just overlook. You know, I like the fact that where's all the patients in the hospital? Laurie seems to be the only patient. You know, the fucking great big hospital.
And the 2 babies.
And the 2 babies, that's it, yeah. And that's it, just Laurie and a couple of babies.
Where are those babies?
Where are the rest of the patients? Doesn't anybody get ill in Haddonfield?
It looks like the place was set on fire at the end of H2. You know, the kid's still in there? What the hell's going on?
Nobody talks about that, do they? Like, they talk about how many people have supposedly died, but you know, every time I total it up, it doesn't match what they have, and I just wonder whether the number that they're referring to includes the TV producer who had her throat slit.
Or did he go into any other room? Did he just open up the door and see if it was Laurie? And just go, no, and then he just closes the door, and then, or did he just walk into like a patient taking a depository? You know,
a depository.
Yeah,
a suppository.
Same thing. You're depositing something, or using the bedpan. He's just like, he just closes. You know, I'm thinking he's like, he went into everybody's room like Harrison Ford did at the beginning of Fugitive, where he's changing his hair and eating everybody's eggs. Michael just.
Well, they did an early test screening of Rosenthal's first cut, and Carpenter was sat in there, and he likened it to an episode of Quincy.
Oh, Christ.
It basically gave Rosenthal a bunch of notes to go away and work on the movie a little bit more. He went away, worked on the film, and a second screening happened, which was equally as bad. And then at that stage, the studio had Carpenter intervene. He cut a load of scenes, re-edited a lot of the scenes, and he also ordered 3 days of reshoots to shoot more gore and suspense. Now, this is nothing to do with the TV cut or anything like that. This was totally separate. The TV cut came after. And among the feedback from the test screenings was, at no point does the shape kill a teenager, a young person at all. And so that's why he just randomly inserts that scene where the shape walks into Alice's house, and does he stab her in the neck or something? I'm not quite sure what he does, whether it's in the chest or the neck or what. But yeah, it's just random. It's just like he's killing people who are getting in his way normally. Well, she was just on the phone to her mate.
Yeah,
it's just a kind of.
Was she outside? And Michael saw her and said, "You know what? Maybe I hope this is the way it should have been." He used it to throw them off. That killing. So we got Mrs. Elrod screaming because she's been beaten by a ham sandwich. And then we have Alice getting stabbed. So you have the investigation concentrating on just that area because Michael is that smart to throw people off. Yeah. I like to believe that, even though it's probably not really what was intended.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a kind of random moment, isn't it? And it was only added in there to increase the level of gore, which there isn't a great deal of. You know, it's just a splat, isn't it? But also to continue the theme of him killing teenagers.
But there was going to be a gory part that probably would have made me upset. Let's talk about that flashback of Laurie with her parents in the car.
Yeah, this is bizarre, and this obviously was filmed at some stage. This is definitely like some sort of Argento nonsense. So there's the flashbacks that we get, whereas Laurie's talking to her mum while the mum's kind of hanging the washing out and saying, why won't you tell me anything? And finds out that she's essentially adopted and that Michael's her brother. There's all those kind of little intercut scenes that they do. But there was also a scene, which this really blows my mind. I would love to see this, to see how it worked out. But apparently Laurie, as a kid, sat in the back seat of the family car, clutching a doll, which, if you remember, she does have a doll in some scenes, doesn't she, as a kid? and her parents are sat in the front, and their eyes are without pupils, so they've just got white eyes, and blood is streaming down their cheeks from their eyes. And there's obviously there's some backwards and forwards going on about Laurie and who she is and what the deal is and who Michael is and all this kind of thing. And then Doll starts to bleed from its mouth as well that she's holding. And from the book, the great book Taking Shape, where we're getting a lot of this information from, they claim that the scene was probably filmed because in the end credits, Dennis Holohan is listed as Laurie's father, and he does not appear anywhere else in the movie. And so I think the idea is that this sequence was filmed but never used, and it must have been if he was credited in the film. It's bizarre. It really is. It's an interesting scene. I'd like to have seen it, and I was, and the Taking Shape guys didn't claim this, but I was just thinking whether it was foreshadowing what is likely to happen towards the end of the movie with Michael getting shot in the eyes.
Gave her the idea maybe to shoot him.
Yeah.
Well, people have always argued: is he shot in the eye, or was he shot in the head somewhere? And that's where the blood's coming down. It's just blinding him, because you could see his eyes.
You can see his eyes, and there's no bullet holes above
I don't have
his
him
eyes.
standing up, because I would be able to look at him.
Well, you've got H2 Michael there. Where is he?
He's in the closet.
Can you put Kelly in the closet and get him out?
No, how dare you?
So the thing is that the final cut of the movie that we see in that we saw in theaters and on VHS and Blu-ray and all the rest of it, Rosenthal has gone on record saying that it's not the version of the film that he made.
It's still good. It's still a good movie.
It is still good. Yeah. I really enjoy it. But I think he's not saying the film that was released is bad. I think he was just kind of being honest and saying, look, it's not my version of the film. My take on things was different. But obviously, Carpenter was sent in to rescue the whole project and is responsible for a lot more on screen that I think he takes credit for. So, and I think that's why a lot of the time he kind of plays it down and says that he's not happy with the film. And I think he described it as an abomination at one stage. I don't think it's that bad. It really isn't that bad.
One of the greatest fire stunts of all time.
Yeah. That is just, and we kind of go on about this so much about the fire stunt. It is just unbelievable.
The best looking nurses anywhere in the world in that hospital. All of them.
Yeah, and that's not true about nurses at all. I've been in hospital a few times, and it's never like Haddonfield Memorial Hospital.
No, even Mrs. Even Mrs. Alvis, you're just like, yeah, she's into some S&M. I know she is. She's so mean and everything. Oh,
it is. It's more like a carry-on film when I go in hospital. Our British subscribers will know exactly what I mean by that. But it's I like the film a lot. I do, and I've had a lot of fun kind of finding out more about it today. A lot of this stuff here I really didn't know about, and there are some, there are a lot of obvious things that we know about Halloween 2, like Dana Carvey's appearance in there, like the fact that at the start of the movie they kind of reshot the stunt and Dick Warlock going backwards up the ramp and all this kind of stuff.
It's all for safety issues.
Yeah. And we know about these little bits and bats, but some of this stuff here I really had no idea about, and I found it really, and I hope some of you guys had not heard of some of this. I know we've had people that have kind of chiming in saying, I've read Taking Shape and I knew all about this. Well, that's great, and we're really pleased that you watched the episode.
And read the book.
Yeah. And again, I'm going to give these guys a plug because the book is absolutely fantastic. Taking Shape, and it's by Dustin McNeil and Travis Mullins, available on Amazon. So give it a read, guys. There's some fascinating stuff in there, and actually give it a read after we've done these episodes. That's probably the best thing to do.
You know, it's probably the definitive book on Halloween.
Yeah.
The whole series. And plus, Taking Shape 2 is just as thick.
Yeah, it's even thicker as Taking Shape too. And we will get to some of the stuff in that.
Use this to crush bugs. That's how big this book is. Well, Darren, I got to ask you.
My wife uses it to get to the top shelf.
I use it for the kids in their high chair to sit or to spank their ass. Or have someone spank my ass.
He is joking there, folks.
Yeah, seriously, yeah. I would never do that to my kids. I could show you bruises from either or.
Yourself. Yeah.
Before we go, I gotta ask you something. As a man who's in this line of work, why does it seem like the Halloween franchise is so poorly pissed about with production and getting everything written from, paper to from pen to paper to screen? It seems like this thing is just all over the place. No one likes working on it. I mean, why is it? What is it about this franchise that the fans absolutely love, but the crew and the actors and the production, they all hate it?
Yeah,
what is it about it?
I think with this particular film, I think that whereas there was a real kind of camaraderie about making Halloween, it was all friends having fun making a movie,
an original idea.
Yeah, exactly, and they all loved doing it, and everybody chipped in with everything. And the success of the film made it such a pleasurable experience. When it comes to Halloween 2, they had, and Erwin Yablans talks about this. He says it was a nightmare, and he wished he'd never done it. So they basically had the Accards, they had John Carpenter, they had Erwin, they had Dino De Laurentiis, and they had Universal. So they had kind of like 5 parties with an interest. Yeah, they had 5 parties with an interest in this that nobody could agree on anything. And I think that in the end, it was such a nightmare to pull together. And that's probably the reason why that it wasn't made until 1981, is because there was probably so many false starts with this, with regards to different ideas for the script, and then, different plots altogether. I think just made everybody miserable. It really did. Like I said before, nobody liked the script, not even Jamie Lee Curtis or anyone. It's a shame, because in the end, I think it turned out okay. I really do. I really do. It's a shame they don't have fonder memories of it. I think it was just a bit of a nightmare to make. Nothing like the original movie and the kind of the sort of family feel that came from pulling that production together.
Do you think there was too many cooks in the kitchen with Dino and Universal and the Accards?
Yeah,
I would think Dino and Mustafa would not get along.
He does mention that. He said he wished he did never have got these guys on board. They came on. Dino De Laurentiis and his group came on board for 2 films, part 2 and part 3. And he just said he wishes that had never have happened, because, as you said, too many cooks were spoiling the broth. At
least with them, there's so many ingredients into this movie. At least it came out with like you said, with a palpable taste.
Yeah.
I guess a happy accident.
Yeah,
well, it's not even
I think so. I think so.
I think it's on the top of everybody's, top
sequel
3
list. Yeah.
Of course, my favorite will always be number 4. I'm not saying number 2 is not a good movie. I think it's a great movie. And I love part 2. I think for me, it would go 4, 1, 2. But I know that part 2 is a better made film over 4.
Yeah.
You have to admit that.
Yeah.
And, there's favorites and there's best.
Yeah.
And I think part 2 is over 4, and one's the king. One's the king over all of them.
Sure.
Well, that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we want to thank you for watching this video, and please comment, put your own little trivia that about Halloween 2 that we may not have known about. We'd like to hear some of it, or even add into what Dara was talking about through the Taking Shape book that you find interesting. We like to hear about it, because let's all admit it. Halloween Ends is going to be the last movie, and when all these channels are out there talking about Halloween, what else is there to talk about? Rehashing up old Halloween trivia. That's the way it's going to be. Or making up some more bullshit.
No,
it's rankings, like best knives, Darren, right? We got a best knives used in Halloween movies coming up.
I'm not sure we'll go that far.
Oh, okay.
Best knives. No, I think it's fun to look at these things, and it's something different that I don't think a lot of people are doing. So it's kind of nice to find something a little bit unique. Also, let us know if you want us to do Halloween 3, because Frank and I are huge fans of Halloween 3. And we are coming up to the 40th anniversary in September of Halloween 3. So I think it could be time for another watch along, Frank. We did this once before on an audio podcast, which was a lot of fun. Check that out, guys, because you will never hear the slaughtered lamb behave like that again, I don't think. But it was a lot of fun.
At least.
No. But we should do something in September to celebrate Halloween 3. But I think we will. Maybe what we'll do is we'll skip to Halloween 4 next, and then bring out the Halloween 3 episode nearer the 40th anniversary. That could be interesting.
Talk about the trivia as the movie progresses. I agree. I think that'll be fun. And I will have water.
Not a bottle of Jack Daniels in the first 15 minutes of the movie. Jim Beam. Oh, sorry. Same thing.
There is a difference. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, as we go through our liquor cabinet, as always, stick to the roads.
And the best of luck.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.